Opus 5 just came out this afternoon, and I'm going to show you the numbers, then give it a 20-minute job, walk away from my computer, and come back to see if it actually finished, because that's what they're claiming. This one works on its own. Okay, the numbers. I'm not reading you a whole chart. 3 of them actually matter. So novel problem solving. That's the test where it has to figure out stuff it's never seen before. Opus 4.8 got 1.5%. Opus 5 got 30. 20 times better in one generation. Agentic coding in the terminal. 4.8 got 21% and Opus 5 got 43, more than double. And this is the one for your wallet. Opus 5 on its lowest effort setting scores about the same as Opus 4.8, trying its absolute hardest for less than half the money. It also matches Fable 5, their most powerful model, at about half the cost per task, and the price didn't move. 5 in, 25 out per million tokens, same as 4.8. It's not a clean sweep though. GPT 5.6 still beats it on one of the coding benchmarks. And Anthropic says themselves it still has real limits on long autonomous research work. So, nearly frontier performance at half the frontier price. Let's see if it's real. So the prompt. Let's go ahead and enter it, but first we have Opus 5.0 right here, and we have Opus 4.8 right here. So both are on extra high. So all we're going to do is one prompt, a whole arcade with 3 playable games, a menu, high scores that save, and sound. And now notice what I did not put in that prompt. I never told it to test anything or check its own work or fix its own bugs, because Anthropic says asking it to double check itself actually makes it worse now. So I'm not asking, and let's see what it does on its own, because they say that it will just check on its own. And I'm going to paste the same one into Opus 4.8, and we'll see how long each of them take. And I'm going to set a timer to see just in case. Okay, so while these are running, what's actually different? And I want to be careful here because a lot of what you'll read today isn't actually new. One thing worth knowing, that effort dial you're seeing everywhere isn't new. 4.8 had the same 5 settings. What is new is how good the low ones got. I'll come back to that. Opus 5 checks its own work without being asked. So Anthropic is now telling people to delete double check your work from their prompts because asking it makes it overcheck and burn time it doesn't actually need. That's the opposite of every prompting tip you've ever had, maybe even including ones I've given on this channel. Second, it hands work off to sub-agents on its own now, more readily than earlier models, and that's Anthropic's own wording. They say to give explicit guidance on which scenarios warrant delegation, or cap the number of sub-agents, because Claude Opus 5 delegates more readily than earlier models. Every sub-agent costs you money. They're telling you to cap it. And third, the practical one. The low and medium settings are way stronger than they used to be. You probably don't need to run this thing on max, and I'm not. Okay, so this is not what I expected. Opus 4.8 is already done and testing, and Opus 5 is still building the first game. So I was wrong that self-checking is new. 4.8 did it too, but watch the difference. 4.8 ran its test and said 0 errors. Opus 5 ran 63 checks and then said, now let me actually look at what it renders, and started screenshotting its own game and inspecting the pixels. It even found a bug in its own test and fixed the test, not even the game. That's what the extra 20 minutes and 200,000 tokens bought. Whether that's worth it to you is the actual question. Okay, Claude Opus 5 just finished, and it took 51.5 minutes and around 220,000 tokens, while 4.8 did it in 19 minutes and 51 seconds. So here's where the extra half hour went. It added a chiptune music loop and mobile touch controls. I never asked for either one, and Anthropic actually documents this. They say Opus 5 can expand the scope of a task, adding steps that weren't requested without making that clear. But look at what it said, word for word. Music and mobile touch controls weren't asked for. Both work and are tolerable, and I'd rather you know they're extras than assume they were required. It told me, it flagged the extras as extras, made them optional, and said it'd rather I know. That's the part I didn't expect. And this is the practical thing I'd actually tell you. Anthropic says low and medium effort on Opus 5 produce strong quality at a fraction of the tokens and latency, and they beat the same settings on older Opus models. And as you can see, extra high might have been a little overkill as it took 51 minutes. And you can now see why using low and medium might be okay in some scenarios. And one more thing, when it couldn't run the Firefox tests, it said, so I won't claim it. It refused to take credit for a test it didn't actually run. Coding has never been easier, and it's never been more useful than it is right now. Subscribe if you want more of this.